Hi, everybody. It's Georgia Rose from Zencuda. And today is actually, the show is going to be July 1st, 2024. I'm actually in my home studio today recording this. I will be back live on July 9th. So I am Georgia Rose, founder of Zencuda. And Zencuda is a community online. And also we do events and online classes and all kinds of things for people who are on the journey to finding their authentic self and living empowered in the energy of their soul. So today I'm going to analyze Joe Biden's chart because I promised I would do that. And I'm kind of chuckling at it because I actually interpreted Donald Trump's chart a couple of weeks ago, and I promised to do Biden's the following week, and then we didn't have a show. So kind of late on the Biden score, but it's funny because everything I did see in his chart is actually happening now. So astrology never lies, right? So let's jump right into it. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. If you'd be so kind as to share the show, if it interests you and you find my work meaningful, I would love that. I am trying to build a private community online, a little bit off of social media. So if you're interested in my work, you can always put your email in the comments below or direct message me on Facebook or Instagram. On Facebook, it is Zencuda Soul Space. And on Instagram, it's Zencuda Official. I also have a website, zencuda.com, which is going to be a beautiful community space for all of us. That's getting unveiled next Monday on the show. Have some free things for you guys and some goodies about that. So I hope you'll be on board next Monday night at 7 o'clock. And also, I have a YouTube channel, which this show will get put on after it is live or taped every Monday at 7. And also, I have over 200 videos about self-development, astrology, some tarot readings, some live chart readings, special guests, all kinds of things on zencuda.com on YouTube. So the body of my work is devoted and dedicated to self-development, to finding our own soul space. And that is why the podcast is called Soul Space. So welcome, welcome. And so this is going to be a summer where you're going to see a lot of things change, especially out in the collective. Keep in mind there are people in the collective, especially those in power in different things, not just politics, but all kinds of power, from financial things to companies to whatever, that don't like things to change, especially people who have power based on the old paradigms and the old norms. These are the people who you're going to see panic and act out, and maybe some not so nice things happen because change means a loss of power for them. You also have to realize, when we're talking about becoming more awake, that many people in power will be compelled to gaslight us and give us more fodder, more feed to try and keep us in the old structures and the old paradigms. Other people in power will try and make us believe that we have to actually reverse things and spin the world back to where it once was. It's never going to happen. I don't know of any history that ever spun the earth back in time. Maybe we should all go watch that movie Back to the Future and see what happens. It didn't turn out so good. They had to come back. So I don't think this is an energy of going back. It's not an energy of finding our baby blanket and drinking on our bottle. This is an energy of severing those attachments and going into the future, a future that looks like our own authenticity and who we are in getting there. So that's all those retrogrades and Saturn and Neptune and Pisces and Neptune and Pluto headed back for Capricorn and all that beautiful Cancer energy we have. And I'll do more videos about it, each pulling it apart separately. So now I want to talk for a few minutes, just a little while, about Joe Biden's chart, because I promised you guys to do this. And it's funny because I don't even really feel like a lot of passion to do this. I just feel like I promised it, so I'm going to do it. I did Trump's chart. That video is up on Zencuda. You can watch that whenever you guys want. This chart, Joe Biden's chart, is very different. Joe Biden was actually born on, just reading my notes here. I'm sorry, I'm looking away from the camera. November 20th, 1942. He was born in Scranton, Pennsylvania at 8:30 a.m. So for any of you astrologers out there that want to, post the chart, astro.com has it in their astro, vault. So you can just bring it right up. He is a, just looking at the chart. Sorry, guys. He is a Scorpio sun, a Sagittarius moon, and his rising sign is in Sagittarius also. So he is going to be a lot about, I'm sorry, Sagittarius. He's a erase that. He's a Scorpio sun, Sag rising, and he is a Taurus moon, I think. I'm looking at his chart here. Yeah, his moon is in Taurus at exactly 0 degree. So he's in the first, just coming off of that Aries energy, which is very interesting. So Sagittarius rising, all about the truth. He's been a truth seeker in his life. He's compelled to seek the truth. He is a Scorpio sun, which I would say don't get on the wrong side of Joe. He's going to sting you. I know I have a Scorpio moon. He's also got Venus there and Mercury right on his sun, which also makes him very intellectually stimulated. But Mercury on his sun, a lot of times it's like a Cazimi effect. And sometimes when you have Mercury, I was looking up at the chart, Mercury, when you have it so close to the sun, especially it's very close to his ascendant, it will sometimes act like a Mercury retrograde. And I think that's why sometimes he does stumble when he speaks. And I don't mean now in the current present energy. He obviously has some cognitive things going on or whatever that is. I'm not a doctor, I can't diagnose. But if you look at even video of him when he was younger, he does sometimes stutter and have a speech impediment or mumble or fumble words. And I think that's very indicative of Sun Mercury combinations because it will cause us sometimes our communication to like almost be too lit up, like your mind works faster than your mouth kind of thing, because the sun's there, like, hitting that. Especially on the ascendant there. He also has Venus there, which would mean that a lot of his communication, Mercury, is going to be a little bit more compassionate than you would see his opponent. And in younger years, if you look at his videos, you can see that he seemed to be oftentimes kind of heartfelt, like his emotions do come in a little bit, which you don't see with most politicians. Now, I'm not making a judgment whether the emotions are correct or not. I'm just saying you oftentimes see him doing that. Not as much now. I think as he has gotten older and maybe a little bit more cognitive things coming through, you'll notice with people who get older, oftentimes they're a little more detached. And for those of you who have had older parents or older people in your world, you'll know what I mean. But one of the things that strikes me of his transits right now and what's going on is he has a lot of things transit in his eighth house. His eighth house is a Cancer energy. He's got obviously the sun, Venus, and Mercury all transiting that area of the chart. And the eighth house is death, other people's resources, it's transformation, it's very Plutonian energy. And his sun is ruled by Pluto. And so is his Mercury and his Venus. So with a transit like that going over his eighth house, this speaks to me of very, very deep transformation. And I believe this is almost like there's no way with transits like this, especially Saturn in Pisces is right on his IC, which is family home. Usually when you see Saturn, a limitation like that in that, around that fourth house, it's actually in the third and fourth house for him. When you're looking at that, that speaks of a change in residence, a change in home, something limiting his ability in the home factor. It is opposing the 10th house, which is your career and the way the world sees you. Bring that in with all those eighth house planets of transformation. I don't see the trajectory staying the same. It's going to change in a very drastic way. What is the chart saying to me? I feel like it's kind of saying, and I'm doing this intuitively, not just from the transits. I really feel this, from a psychic point of view. There's a very good chance that he may drop out of the race and use an excuse of a family member. And that's just how I'm feeling with that Saturn and Saturn going retrograde on that IC area of his chart. It's like very, very close. Like his IC, which is all your family, your history, your roots, that's at 19 degrees of Pisces. Saturn is going retrograde at 19 degrees of Pisces. So that's really something that's also going to dispel illusions. Like, maybe you think a family member is more healed than they are, or maybe, in Pisces, it could be addictions. So I'm wondering if something happens with Hunter and Joe drops out, says he's needed at home, or something happens in that regard. Now, I'm not predicting this as a drop dead kind of like this is what's going to happen. I'm just saying that's what the energy feels like to me. But within that energy, there is like, 10 other scenarios that could happen. But I think that's the theme, is what I'm saying. And the other reason why I think that is because Uranus is transiting in Taurus, his sixth house, which is work, service to the world. With Uranus there, that's going to be a sudden, unexpected change. He's also got Jupiter in Gemini transiting his natal Saturn. So that means Jupiter is limited in there. It's his seventh house, it's relationships. Some kind of a myth is dispelled with relationship for him. And with the energy going down there in the fourth house with the family members, there's definitely something that happens, a change, something to do with family, home, roots, security. And it is playing into him having to change the career path, having to a real big transformation. That's all I'm going to say on it. Pluto, eighth house is, death and transformation, not always literal death. I'm not predicting that. It is definitely the death of an environment, a way of life, a belief system, things like that, to transform. And we went through that quite a bit in the chart. So that is pretty much where we're at with all that kind of stuff. And I think that it could go either way. But what I've always been saying about this election from like 3 years now, I don't think it's going to be Biden or Trump when we get to that gate. I think there's a lot of other things that are going to play out between now and November, especially when you have a sky like this. And this sky isn't just very dynamic, which all skies really are. This is huge potential for things to be very dynamic. But this is also an energy of deep, deep transformation, reorientation, authenticity. We have many more things that are going to come out in the next couple of months that are going to be the things that were not authentic coming to the surface and rising. A perfect example was in the States here, Biden being revealed during the debate. And I'm saying this strictly from, just a almost like a medical point of view. I mean, if I was watching anyone on that stage, I would know that they were struggling. And that came to light, and we really didn't see that. Most of us were like, well, I don't know, maybe, he's older, but there's been a lot of older presidents. He seems to be okay when he delivers his state of the speech and state of the nation and things like that. I don't really know what is true. And I think when we watched the debate, suddenly things were revealed that were truth. That's also the energy of Jupiter and Gemini. What is true? Who am I? What's authentic to me, etc. And we're going to see a lot more of that. Other things will be revealed, especially on very potential, figures that have the potential to be world leaders, not just in my country here in the States, but in other countries. You're going to see a lot of things really transform in that regard. And that's really the astrology right now. So I am going to just go take a quick peek at all of my notes and see if there's anything else I wanted to talk about. Okay, so yes, there is one more thing. So the Saturn retrograde. So this Saturn retrograde is in Pisces. What is Pisces? I don't know. I should coin that word. Is in Pisces, which we have said. So this is where a lot of the word I want to use, and I wrote in my notes, was disenfranchised. We're becoming disenfranchised about the way we see the world, and that has to happen in order for us to recreate it, and in order for us to reorient ourselves to what is new and what we can do. When Pluto goes into Aquarius come November for good, for the next 20 years, not forever, but for like next 20 years, that brings in an energy of future, pioneering. We're going to like really be looking to the future. In this next little while to November, we're going to be regurgitating the past a little bit for the purposes of next November, when we finally have that Aquarian energy and can really see in it, because now we have the awareness of what doesn't work. So this is not just a reordering of the collective and the world we live in and the environments and the structures. It's also a reordering of what deep inside of us, because Pluto is the soul, what deep inside of us needs to come around and be reoriented and reorganized for our priorities and what is valuable to us. What are our priorities? What is truly meaningful to us? And we're going to reorder that. It's almost like taking a Rubik's Cube and reordering it to be more reflective of our own authenticity. That's really the energy. I also think of it as, I had someone once who told me the totem pole analogy, and we all have a totem pole. The totem pole is how we prioritize things in our life, right? And we should always be on the top of that totem pole, because we should be the top priority in our life, hands down, all the time. Because without that happening, we can't prioritize anything else. So this is a great time to look at the totem pole. What are the priorities? What's on your pole? And where do they need to be restacked so that they really show and resonate and connect with your authentic self? The answer to the question, who am I? This is what's deeply meaningful and resonates with me. This is what is my priorities based on who I really am. And the more awake we become, the more that comes in. So for the next little while, especially July, August, September, October, look at your life, look at your relationships, your environment, what you do for a living, the way you spend your time, the way you speak to yourself, the way you speak to others, the things you take in your media, your music, your written word, your spoken word. Look at all of that through the lens of you as an individual, you as a unique person, not in a competitive way where you're holding yourself up to those structures and organizations and belief systems that you're supposed to look in as a mirror. Because I think the mirror is now broken. We can't see in that mirror anymore. And we have to turn inward to really see who we are. The mirror doesn't show us anymore. None of the structures, none of the things that are out there in the world are really resonating who we are. It has to come from within. And especially this month of July, when we have planets in Cancer, we want that to come from within based on our own personal inner landscape. And what's going to happen with that is eventually, when we have that stability, we're going to be able to grow our own roots, form our own structures, feel really good and really comfortable in our own agency and our own authority. And that makes me want to cry for humanity, because that's really why we're put here on this earth. And that's the soul space. So I welcome you into my other media, Zenkuda Official on Instagram, Zenkuda on YouTube. I am going to be launching a website this week. We're going to talk about it next Monday, the 9th. All about, you can go one place where you can find my online courses, my products, my video, a community where you can all chat. It's a really beautiful place. You'll find my blogs there about astrology, about my own journey to self-development, everything. Because I feel like we need a cohesive energy for people who are on the path to find the awakening of who we are, to find the authority and the agency of who we are and live in that full potential. And that's Zenkuda. And it's not easy. It's hard. It's dirty and gritty when Pluto comes in and pulls all that dirt out up in for us to be released and get the attachment off and find new things. It's tough. And we need a community and a group where we're all supporting each other. And that is what evolutionary astrology has been for me. So a lot of my video and a lot of my things are going to be, really evolutionary astrology heavy. But I think that's a lightness, it's a medicine, and I hope you'll all join me. So thank you so much for tuning into the Soul Space. If this resonated with you, share the show. And stay tuned. Next Monday night, I'll be back live in the studio and hopefully have a lot more info for you on just about everything and how my week went. Love to hear how your week went. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.